tell y'all a story. It's about my mom. I've had a really hard time dealing with her death because I was pretty ugly to her in her last years. You see, I held a lot of resentment because my mom got sick and she left for a while. She left for a long time. I had to chase her down just to find out that she had more problems than a young girl could understand. The guy that she had gotten with took her down a really dark path. She was an alcoholic, among other things. And I kept running away from home, so I ended up living with my grandma. And I'd go back and forth between her and Mom because I loved my mom so much I wasn't ever going to let her leave me. And it was really bad at home. Us kids went through a lot. And so I was the only one that really chased her. There was a lot of things that was said about my mom that wasn't true. And there was a lot of things that my mom went through that we didn't know about until she was gone. And I stayed pretty close to her. And when I moved to Texas, I went up there and I brought her back down here to live pretty close to me. And my brother and sister were kind of numb to her, more my brother than my sister. My sister did try to have a relationship with her, and Mom was very tired by then. So there was a lot of things that were complicated. But I never let Mom forget. And then whenever it was put off on me to be the one that was primarily taking care of her, I didn't really feel really resentful, but I was starting to feel that way because my mom was starting to get really needy, and I didn't realize how sick she was at all. And my life was falling apart for the third time, and I ended up having to move her in with me. And when I say my life was falling apart, there was a lot of bad stuff going on. And then I had to drop everything to move her in and watch her get worse and her not really tell us that she was sick. So it seemed like it was more for attention. So what we thought we did. Because she was pretty dramatic anyway. You just had to know her. Before she divorced my dad, actually my dad made her leave. Before we moved to Texas as kids, Mom was the most beautiful, loving, nurturing mother you could ever ask for. And that's what I was remembering, and I wanted her back. I wanted that lady back. But she had a hysterectomy, and something happened, and she changed. Her gray hair's showing. So I was very ugly to her, and then when we found out that she had cancer, it was 20 days before she died. And I was trying to make everything right in that 20 days. In the last week or two, I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. I wasn't even going to let her have her wishes. I wasn't going to let her die. And so she kind of sunk my little sister in there to be responsible to make sure that she wasn't resuscitated, because I was going to resuscitate her. I wasn't going to let her go. I wasn't ever going to let her go. I was selfish, very selfish, on top of how mean I was to her. And I didn't realize until after she was gone how much of a mama's girl I always was. I was just mad. And I was very hurt. And so it's been really hard for me. And I've not wanted to tell this story. And I did leave tons out because I tried to make this video 3 times. And there's just not enough video to go into all of it. My mom was a beautiful person and had a lot of unfortunate things happen to her. And I wish I would have treated her better. I really do. And if you're listening and you have issues with your mom, just know that there's things beyond your understanding. If she gave you life, there will always be a love there that even God can't take away. Not a mother's love. And if you're a mother, you should know that. And we all make stupid decisions, and we all have our own screw-ups. Life is too short. I go by every day wishing that she was here. Wishing that I could tell her, and I do. And she has visited. Like I said, there was a lot that I left out. But this is the main part that you need to know. You should hug your mom. You should hug your mom. Because you don't know when God's going to come get her. I always thought I'd have her forever. Well, I knew I wouldn't, but you can never, ever, ever prepare yourself enough for the loss of a mother, a father, or a child, or a sibling. You just can't. You don't know until that day happens how bad it's going to hit you. And sometimes it takes a couple days. Mine hit me before she left. There was so many things, and I had so many chances to hug her and to be good to her, and I did do some. I mean, it wasn't completely horrible, but it was bad enough that I've got to live with it, and it hurts me. It hurts me now. It's the hardest thing about myself to forgive. It was a lot easier to forgive her. There's nothing that big. I don't care what it is. I went over all the possible things. And believe me, my mom put us through some of the craziest shit. Especially me, because I kept chasing her. I would refuse to let her leave me. My whole life I spent chasing her until I got married. And she did a lot of stuff to me that would make a lot of kids hate their parents. But you need to stop that shit right now. Because what you're doing is you're hurting yourself. I remember my mom coming in and talking to me after I was crying over Charlotte's Web when I was about 7 years old. And I said, "Mommy, what's dead?" And she told me. She said, "Well, everybody's going to die someday." And I said, "Not you, Mommy, not you." She said, "Yes, baby, I'm going to die." And I said, "Me too?" She said, "Yes, baby. One day you're going to die too." I said, "Daddy, Grandma, Grandpa, And so from that moment on, I just cherished people. But yet, I was so hateful sometimes, really hurtful, and not just to my mom. Trust me, I've got a streak in me that's mean. But losing mom, that learned me a lot. So if you're listening to me right now, you don't have a good relationship with your mom, I'm not asking you to do that. Just hug her. Hug her. Just for no reason other than she gave you birth. You got to experience so many things. If it's your dad, hug him. My dad left before my mom. And to this day, I feel like his biggest disappointment because of things that he said before he died. And I wish we would have been able to talk those out. I've had years to think it over in my head. And he was hard to talk to. If you think you've got a parent that you can't talk to, try talking to Kenny Dickey. The meanest thing I ever seen on either side of the Mason-Dixon line. He was a tough man, and he was very respected too. He was a good man. He was just hard when he raised his kids, and he had his reasons, and I respect that. And I respect both of my parents. I wouldn't change any of that. The only thing that I would have changed would be my actions to love them more, despite their mistakes. If they're still alive, you got a chance. Take that chance. And another one and another one. Because one day, you're going to wonder what it felt like to hug your parent. What would it have felt like if you would have? And you're going to hate yourself. And if they push you away, you won't have to live with the fact that you never tried, and you'll never get to find out what it would have been like if you didn't. This world needs love. My little girl, she told me, she said, sometimes if you want peace, you have to be the peace. I don't know how in the hell my kids got so smart. Forgive your parents and just love them. That's all you need to do anyways. It's not your place to judge them. Not even as their child. It's not your place. And if they're willing to love you back, let them. Forgive them. Maybe the things in life that you've done wrong aren't so bad. But really, is one worse than the other? It makes you just as bad. They're human beings, raised in another time, dealing with things that, even if we've dealt with them in their way, don't judge them. Love them. It's for you, Mom. I love you. And I'm so sorry. And how I'm going to forgive myself. Right here under Grandmother Moon. See her? Tickle, tickle, tickle. Tickle, Grandma. I love you. Forgive them. Forgive yourself. And move on. If they can't work with you, just love them. And love yourself and know they have faults. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And you're not as messed up as you think. Or as messed up as they want you to think. Just love them. And love yourself. Give yourself a break and give them a break. And just be. You're two separate people. Their opinion of you doesn't mean shit. And in the end, what's going to matter, hopefully if they go before you, which parents are supposed to, it doesn't always happen that way. That's why I'm saying do it now. Because it could be you tomorrow. And then what would they have to live with? Just do it. Agree to disagree. And agree to be your own person and love yourself. And forgive yourself. Forgive them and let them be who they are. If they want to be an old prick, let them. Just let them. They have that right. They're a human being. Love them anyway. Show them what it's like to love. Show them what it's like to not judge. Just love and be loved.